Welcome to the Fitness and Finance Podcast with Jeff Smith from The Retirement Smith and Jennifer Scherer from Fredericksburg Fitness Studio. True wealth isn't just about finances. It's about maintaining a healthy body and a secure financial future. The Fitness and Finance Podcast is here to help you build strength in both areas, tackling financial strategies for retirement while also discussing ways to stay active, healthy, and energized. Now let's get started with Fitness and Finance. Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes.
All right. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. Hopefully, folks are awake after that. And I'm here with our great hosts, Jeff Smith and Jennifer Scherer.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff and Jen, I love you guys. You know that.
Oh, we love you, Tony.
Yep. I actually thought about you this morning, Jen, getting ready. I thought, wait, Jen, I'm going to do a show with Jeff and Jen. I was thinking about you guys, and I'm like, Jennifer actually spent time explaining that if you massage the kale, if you, I remember when you said, it's how you prepare it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So if I go through all this work and, the chef creates this beautiful kale salad, then it'll taste good. And then when I see you in person, you just crack open a can of green beans and eat them. It's like I'm supposed to do all this massaging of my food, and you're just cracking open a cold can of green beans and
I have
right from the
can a long time. I think actually we had Philip massaging kale one
we
time.
Did. That was.
You did.
Yeah.
You had your friend massage your kale for you. I love that.
Nephew.
Yeah, our nephew. Yeah.
Your nephew. Yeah.
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 Today we're jumping in because we're going to make it a short show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we do, we should probably talk about our hike.
Oh my gosh. Robertson's Mountain Loop.
Where's Robertson's Mountain?
It's next to Old Rag in the Shenandoah National Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about 25 minutes from the farm.
Right.
So we did it.
We did it.
Is that what you did this past weekend?
Yeah, my gosh.
On Saturday. We got a late start. A little bit later. It was a little bit humid.
Yeah. 9.3 miles.
Yeah, but
2,800 feet of climbing.
Yeah, It was a little bit, I thought it was a little bit deceiving because we looked at the trail rating on all trails and it said strenuous compared to Old Rag was very strenuous. So I thought, we've done Old Rag before. So this probably is going to be much easier. Well, let me tell you, it was a steady climb, like relentless. There was no flat. It was just, just keep on climbing. Whereas I looked later and I was like, in my opinion, the Robertson Mountain Loop was harder than Old Rag.
Definitely. And, we usually average between 2.8 and 3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I looked down after we climbed that dang thing and it was like 2.4.
Yeah, it was hard.
Like, what?
I mean, it was really continuously climbing.
Yeah. So yesterday we drooled on ourselves on the couch.
Yeah, but we did it.
We did it.
Oh, you did it. That's an accomplishment. That's great. Now, most people plan on climbing and getting to the top. That's their goal. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the goal needs to be getting back down again.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely.
That's where you have the trouble, right? And Mount Everest, when people climb Mount Everest, the deaths on Mount Everest are always going down.
Oh. Wow. Well, you don't
because people prepare to go up,
right.
and they have a goal, and then they use all their energy to get to the top, and then going down is where the struggle happens.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue.
That is a good segue.
Yeah.
Really good. Well, today we're talking about one of the hardest things any human being can do. Changing your mind.
Oh, wait. I was told there would be no change. After age 30, I was told I would never have to change anything after age 30.
So painful.
Yeah, but not because someone argued with you, but because new evidence showed you something that you didn't know before.
Right. What do you do when you are aware of something new? You have a real choice. And a lot of times we want to stay in the comfort zone and try to forget that we learned anything new because it means that you have to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, and one of the most fascinating moments I experience with clients happens during their final health presentation, right? So for weeks, we've gathered a bunch of information. We have their in-body results and their gait analysis, their functional movement screening, everything, nutrition histories, blood work.
Mhm.
And then I sit down and say, here's what we found. And something interesting happens. The client has a choice. They can either, reject the information, or they can allow that information to help them make a positive change.
Yeah. And I have that going on too. So
Yeah.
a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I don't know, I've got everything, in good order. And then when I present the facts and I present the evidence, it is like a light bulb goes off. And, some people will really lean into it and some people will run in the other direction because it's very polarizing when you have to make that conscious decision that you may not have been doing something the way you should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and most of us don't enjoy discovering that we've been wrong.
Mm.
Right.
A lot of my clients sometimes believe, "Ooh, I've been eating healthy," but then I find their protein intake is half of what they need.
Mhm.
Or I have clients come in and they're like, "I thought I was pretty strong," until they realize that their balance puts them at a high risk for falling.
Mhm.
Oh,
Or I get this a lot too. It's like, I thought my weight was my biggest problem, right? When the real issue is muscle loss.
Mhm.
And the facts don't care what we believe.
yeah.
And that's kind of what we're trying to address today is, they simply reveal reality. And then you've got to choose what to do with that.
Yeah.
Well,
And it
change is hard. Change is hard.
I know.
It
Right?
really is, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the financial side, Jeff,
Mhm.
it's the same. Facts can change. They'll pass a new law,
Yeah.
or your life situation changes. And then
Or the
you
thing
have
that
to
Uncle
make
Bill-
make changes,
Or the
right?
thing that Uncle Bill told you to do is
Right.
not right.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. When you come to
yeah.
recognize, geez, oh man, I should have been in this all along.
Right.
But you're in that. It is a very difficult, moment when you say, geez, I need to make changes or not. And so you have that choice, and I think that sometimes plays out in people's lives where they, you can reject the data, you can
Mhm.
reject that new fact,
Mhm.
but that is a choice too. And that is,
Yeah.
so a choice that some people make, I
Yeah.
recently talked with a prospective client and, um, discovered that they, their advisor put them in municipal bonds. And I said, well, why? Why did you go into municipal bonds? Do you have a tax issue? And I looked at, their income and their marginal, tax rate was below 20. And I thought, do you know, the if you make 8% on that money, would you rather pay 19% on that money and make more or so
Yeah.
people, sorry, that was kind of a convoluted way of explaining it, but the idea here is that there was no reason for them to be in municipal bonds.
Right.
They didn't have a tax issue.
Sure.
Certainly they're safe, and I'm not dissing munis. They're appropriate in some people's
Certain
portfolios.
circumstances, though.
But it was seemingly for no reason whatsoever. And you can get another fixed product. There's structured notes, there's annuities, there's fixed products that are paying higher than municipal
Much
bonds.
better.
You
Yeah.
don't have
Even
to.
even a MIGA possibly. So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, yeah. I mean, they have in the fives.
Yeah.
So I think you have to really analyze. Why did I do that? And
Yeah.
sometimes people get lulled into this false sense of security or a false sense of safety.
Mhm.
I mean, safety has become such a comfort for people
Yeah.
when you want success, it does not come with safety.
Yeah.
It does not always come
Right.
with safety. I mean, look at Jennifer and I, we've started and developed and run businesses. You don't get anywhere laying up and
Well,
doing
and you
it.
learn from your mistakes. I mean, the person that makes a mistake and can honestly say that was a mistake and here's how I will do it differently.
Yeah, do things differently,
in my
change.
opinion, is a much more positive response than allowing
Strong person.
than allowing the mistakes to define them and make them feel negative about.
Well, yeah, if you do the same, if you keep doing the same things,
Yes.
expecting different results,
It's insanity.
that's the very definition of
Yeah.
insanity, right?
But
So,
well, I think sometimes the biggest obstacle isn't the information, it's the identity. People don't say my protein intake is low. They'll
right.
say, but I've always eaten this way, or my family has always done it this way.
Defensive.
Or my doctor never mentioned it.
Right.
So it can't be bad.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And so they're defending this belief
Right.
instead of evaluating the evidence.
Or it's because, and sometimes it's because they're afraid to change. I mean, when the facts change, in other words, when you go to a financial advisor and they do the math for you, and Jeff, you lay it out and go say, okay, here's where it's at. Can you change your spending habits to save more for retirement? Changing our spending habits is hard. Changing our eating habits or our workout habits are hard, right, Jennifer? I mean,
Oh my
these
gosh,
things are tough.
And Jeff, I literally just overheard a conversation not too long ago with him and a client, one of his clients, and it's like, I think her comment was, "But I've always kept my money in cash." And Jeff was like, "And?"
Right.
Yeah.
Do you trust me?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just challenging that.
For example, in that scenario, right? Inflation, we just had inflation numbers out and it's over 3, which is better than what it's been, and that's more traditional, 3%. But if you're sitting in cash, not in a money market, even, just sitting in cash, you're not making enough, you're losing money year over year because you're not keeping up with the cost of goods and services that money's supposed to buy. So you have to understand different levels of risk. I think, there's all sorts of different types of risk, but that is one of them. And so when you're searching to mitigate against one risk, you open yourself up to a couple of other ones. So you really have to, identify, what's in your best case, scenario for those dollars, or for that time, or for that exercise, or for that food intake, all those things. And you don't get that by doing the same thing over and over again. Also, conversely, you don't just willy-nilly do stuff just to try it. This is not a
right.
Retirement planning, is not science where you try and fail all the time. You can, but that is an expensive way of doing it. When you could just hire someone to help you walk through that.
Costly mistakes and the unwillingness to change and do things differently if the facts state that you should in either workout or finances it can be very costly. The price of doing that is high.
Very. Yep.
You got to be willing to change.
Well, and I think I appreciated that about Jeff when he was a client. There was a moment there where he was like, that doesn't sound right. When I said, he needs to start eating carbohydrates. He's like, that's not everything I've read on social or wherever he was getting his information from other sources. And I said, do you trust me? Let's just try this as an experiment. And that is one of my favorite qualities, I would say, in a client is they're curious, right? They'll ask me, tell me more, or can you help me understand? Like, what should I do differently?
Yeah.
They're not just set in their ways. They're open to learning the newest research and why this might be a better method. And they don't see new information as criticism, right? The people that see new information as criticism are very limiting.
Narrow.
When you can see it as an opportunity, and you did, Jeff, you saw it as an opportunity to try something new. Even I said, look, if it doesn't work for you, let's go back to, we're going to have plan B, but can you just give this a shot and see how it does? And he was curious enough to allow that process.
And honestly, it helped me to have her, because then, if I followed everything that she said, it's not on me. It was easier for me to offload that in my mind. Like, what, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic here, but I trust her. And if I do all these things and it doesn't work, well, then it's not necessarily just me. that, it's not my body, whatever it is. And it was super helpful because I watched, the first couple of days, maybe a week, I felt like I had gained weight, and I probably did water weight.
Low glycogen, yeah.
But then, and so I was like, oh, here we go. And then, but after that, it was just like a snowball. It just, she completely retrained my metabolism, and made the capacity for me to burn calories higher over time through eating and fueling correctly. The same types of things that we do in financial planning, right? Is once we get that, that plan in place, and we start to fund those things, and we start to do the things that we're supposed to be doing, you look up in a year's time and go, oh my gosh, what a change. What a change. And then you start to build momentum, and you start to understand the power of planning, the power of making those right choices, and also offloading that stuff from your mind. I mean, the beauty of having someone like Jennifer for me was that I was an active participant, but I shifted the responsibility of my fitness and my nutrition to her. She's a pro. And, all I had to do was follow it. And when you take on something like that, you can focus your attention on other things.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the value of having a financial, planner and a fitness specialist and a dietitian. I mean, you just get to free up your mind. Stop looking and scrolling and trying to find the silver bullet. It's not there. It's in the planning. It's not in the one singular thing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, it reminds us, sometimes our listeners or viewers may not know this, but Jeff started out as a client of Jennifer's.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Jennifer, most difficult client ever. She told me. Jennifer, how could you go from he's the most difficult client I've ever had to marrying the guy, and then you marry him?
Well,
I love
it's so
that.
funny. Another memory I have is, the moment when I said to him, I really think you would benefit from Pilates. He was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
And I said, again, do you trust me? I think you need to build your core strength. Because I remember seeing him do like a stability ball handoff when I was, during a personal training session, and I noticed his core was a weak link. It was a weak link. And I said, we can address that a lot.
Sure.
With a different approach, right? With Pilates. Yeah. And he trusted me, right? He's like, I don't know if I'll have my man card after this, but
I was like, you can't tell my rugby friends this.
But funny. It worked, and he was able to get the benefits.
Change is hard. You do need someone you can trust. You need to work with trusted professionals. And I think this is a great, it gets people thinking. It's been a great show because when the facts change, will you? And if you don't change, it's the cost involved in not changing is high. So you guys make a great point. Before we go, let our listeners and viewers know how they can get a hold of you to make get the help they need to make the changes they need to make.
So go to our website, and it's fitnessfinancepro.com. And then from there, you can select the option to book a free discovery call with both Jeff and myself.
Awesome. And just more one-on-one time with Jeff and Jen. That's worth it right there. It's worth it. All right, guys. Great show today. When the facts change, will you? Change is hard, but you guys are great. And you've helped a lot of people make the changes they need to really improve their lives and save them money. So that's the key here. Again, it's fitnessfinancepro.com. And that does it for today's episode of Fitness and Finance Radio with our hosts, Jennifer Scherer and Jeffrey Smith.